starting a business is definitely not for everyone. I think a lot of people should do it. You have to realize that there's going to be a lot of failure. There's going to be a lot of effort, and there's not a lot of return at the beginning. But you build it, and then it grows and it works out. So you just have to keep at it.
Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sykes. My name is Sykes and this is my podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out the last episode. If you're one of those people, I hope you enjoyed it and thanks so much for coming back. But for those of you out there who are new to the show, welcome. Please feel free to make yourselves at home. And as always, there's beer and soda in the fridge. But today, I have iced coffee. And you know what, Josh? I did not ask you. Do you need anything? Do you need a beer? Do you need a soda?
I'm good.
You're good?
I'm great right now.
If you change your mind, you let me know because just on the other side of that door, all your dreams can come true. You just let your boy know. So I already mentioned one half of this gentleman's name that's sitting next to me. But for those of you that don't know how to read, this is Josh Snider. Make some noise for the internet, my friend.
Hey.
For those of you who do not know Josh, he is a lot of things. You are an artist, a father, a business owner, a lover of music, a lover of creativity, a lover of Pittsburgh, a lover of nice hats.
Thank you.
And beards. And, we both have hats. We both have beards. We both are into all of these things. We're entrepreneurs of sorts. We got a lot to talk about.
Absolutely.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here today, man. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So for anyone out there who doesn't know you,
yeah.
And if there's anything that I didn't cover in my nice little sentence, what do you want to tell people about yourself?
Well, we both also have podcasts.
Oh, so. Yes, I forgot. He's a fellow podcast host. Enemy. So,
if you want to check it out.
Thoughtful discussions.
Yeah, Thoughtful Discussions with Josh Snider. We're on iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, just about everywhere. And I interview other creatives, any artists, music, visual, whatever, and talk about what makes them different and what makes them do what they do, mostly all over Pittsburgh. So it's a lot of fun.
Hell yeah, dude.
And then the print shop representing Flower City Printmakers in Bloomfield. And we do just about anything, paper, stickers, banners, buttons, you name it. We do not do t-shirts, pens, and mugs. People always ask.
Yeah.
So no like specialty like gift items, but otherwise lots and lots of printing.
Cool.
Yep.
And, so all that stuff aside, there's so much we could get into. But aside from the podcast, aside from the business, what is the personal life of Josh like? What do you do when you're not doing all of this other shit?
I try to keep myself busy. Like that's kind of the mode that I'm always in.
Uh-huh.
I'll take some time and, binge a movie or I'll enjoy and relax. You have to have some unwind time. But art is one of those things that I do to unwind as well. So, and work, like it sounds crazy, but there's things that you can do that are kind of therapeutic. And I've been a small business owner working for myself for 12 years. So I've kind of found what things I can work on. I'll do deliveries. Like I'll go out and do deliveries and it's just like, I could be out there on the road, people can call me if they need questions for me, but I can just go and have to not think about it. Just do my thing.
It's so funny how after you spend so much time working for yourself as you have, how your thought on the concepts of things like relaxation and me time, how it changes and shifts. It's a totally different thing, all the time I'll talk with people who maybe just don't have the same mentality as me. Yeah. And they are always asking about like, how do you get things done? And it's just like, for me, like editing podcasts is relaxing. Yeah. It's not like a chore. It's like, it's super relaxing to me. It's like, okay, well, I get to just keep up my chops on audio and video editing and just get to chill out. And like, I could edit a podcast with one earbud in sitting on the couch watching a movie. Yeah. Like I can do both. There's ways to like multitask and just find, I don't know. I don't know if it's me finding new ways to relax or if I've just tricked myself into thinking it's relaxing over the years.
Could be either.
Yeah.
I got some really good advice when I was about 18 and this guy named Daniel Verdugo. And he told me, figure out what you do well and then find other people that can do the rest, basically. And so that was probably, figuring out what I do well has really enabled me to do those things and do them good, and then find other people that can do better at the things that I don't do that good at.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure. I think that's great advice. It's really, really difficult for people, I think, in our position to maybe sometimes let go of control, or, it takes so much time to actually find people that you can trust, or people who will actually follow through with what they say they're going to. And I imagine you've dealt with it a lot, being somebody that has worked for yourself as long as you have, because you have employees and people that business partners or of sorts, I imagine, and things where it's like, sometimes it works out great and it's awesome, but when it doesn't work out, man, it's a fucking nightmare. And I imagine it can be.
Yeah. I mean, there are some tough conversations that have to happen sometimes. You work with sometimes younger people, sometimes even people, that aren't younger, that should know better. And you have to tell them, hey, be on time.
Sure.
Whatever.
I don't want to jump around too much in this conversation, but I think that, because we're kind of like all over the place right now. That's fine. But just with being like a independent business owner, working for yourself, I think there's this mentality that comes with that, because I deal with it too at Get Hip, where it's kind of like since this isn't like a corporate official thing, like we can bend the rules a bit.
Of course.
And, and like to some extent you can, like, it's relaxed in some ways, but in other ways it's still like, just show up and do what you got to fucking do. Like, just because this isn't Starbucks doesn't mean you can't fucking, like, you still have to be like, show up. Don't fucking bullshit. Don't call off last minute, do all this nonsense. But the other thing too is there's an unfortunate side effect where there's a part of like the independent business that kind of attracts those people, because they're afraid of that like proper work environment, the structured environment. Yeah. As I always used to joke with my girlfriend, Stacy. She was a store manager at a Hot Topic for a long time.
Okay.
And she always had a really hard time finding employees, because it's either, people that are too young to like work on the amount of hours that she needs, or they're just like fuck ups that could never get a job anywhere else. So they want to work there because they think they just get to fucking dick around all day. But it's like, no, it's literally the same as if you're working at any other stupid, boring store in the mall.
Right.
This one's just a little bit, spookier. There's more Harry Potter shit in it. But it's the same thing. You got to fold shit. You got to put stuff away. You got to, count numbers, check stock. Like, it's boring shit.
Same shit.
A job's a job.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a mentality with that I think some people just need to get into, where it's like, work is work, but if you think it's going to be miserable, then you're going to be miserable. It's like the equivalent to, like, right now it's Pittsburgh. We're in Pittsburgh right now, and it's the time of year we had our like first big snow this week.
Yep.
It's getting cold. And I've always said this, where I feel like if you tell yourself, okay, it's going to be cold when I go outside, just dress appropriately. It's not going to be that bad. Yep. I always get so pissed off when we're around people and like, it's so cold. It's so cold. And I'm like, you're freaking yourself out in your head. You're like making it so much worse mentally.
100%.
He's got to know.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you get up, like, I got to go to work today, which means I need to do work.
Absolutely. Prepare yourself.
So, getting into, let's rewind 12 years.
Okay.
What were you doing for money prior to working for yourself?
Okay. So, I started when I was 16, I started working at a print shop, and, they trained me. I started in graphic design. I was working on the back end, they did paper and they did screen printing. So I learned how to do both. And it was cool because they were like, at the time, they were on their second generation. They were 33 years old. And so they still had a lot of old equipment. They hadn't like gotten rid of it yet.
Yeah.
So I got to shoot film, and I got to actually like cut and paste things on a light box.
Yeah.
Where you actually have to like cut it, and there's like this hot wax, and you like old press type stuff. And that was probably, I mean, if I would have been 5 years later, they probably would have had thrown away all that stuff. So, really fortunate that I was able to develop my own film and like make plates and do all this stuff and learn how kind of like the whole thing worked. And then, so I did that for 2 years. And then, I was kind of slowly buying my own equipment for screen printing. I wanted to start a record label with my brother, and which never worked out. Everyone wanted the t-shirts.
Yeah.
So when I was 18, I decided to kind of go off on my own, start my own business, and it just kind of snowballed from there. My dad let us do it in the garage. We went out, got a bigger space, and then got another bigger space, got a big automatic press, and then we sold it. That was out in Orange County, California.
Okay.
And then moved out here and took about 3 years off, figure out, kind of get my bearings. And then once my son was born, he's 5.5. My business also was 5.5. And so I started it, kind of became a stay-at-home full-time dad. And that was the goal. And I wasn't sure. Basically, I gave myself until he'd start school. Then, I could go back to work. Needed to figure out something between those time periods, and ended up working out. So I was lucky because I had the 7 years experience before that.
Yeah.
Doing printing business. And this was different because this is paper now opposed to t-shirts, but enough similarities. I knew the market, and then being in Pittsburgh, I love Pittsburgh. So it's so different in people really appreciate good work ethic. You just have to show up and get shit done. And people are stoked. They're like, oh, wow, you did it. Yeah. What? There's really that's the bar. Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Do a good job, do good work, get paid well.
Sure.
You'll be fine. So, that's just always been the mentality, and referrals have been absurd. People all the time, just telling other people about us. Oh, where do you get? No one tells people about, I feel like printing is probably not the main referral. You know what I mean? But people tell their friends about us all the time. So
yeah,
we have about 5,000.
I knew who you were, and I knew we were connected on social media for a while, but I had never gotten anything done through you. And I remember it was a few years ago, after Gray Walker had started up.
Yeah.
I was just on Facebook. I was like, does anybody know anybody local that does anything decent? It was Jamie from Code Orange actually hit me up about you. And I was like, oh yeah, I know that guy. Yeah. And then I hit you up, and then now I've gotten a bunch of stuff through you guys. So
there it is.
Yeah.
Much appreciated.
Yeah. And I think the thing that's cool about what you're doing is that there's just not a lot of options, especially comparative to the screen printing. I think there's a lot of screen printing options. And I was going to ask maybe why you didn't stick with that, but maybe the answer is because there's so much screen printing in Pittsburgh already.
The market, in my opinion, and I have seen, I've witnessed, there are a few shops in Pittsburgh that have made it work. And they're very good at it, and they make decent money, and they do a really good job. But yeah, the market, it's easy to get flooded. You get some kids that get some equipment, they put it in their basement. They do a really bad job, but they can charge $2-3 a shirt, and you're trying to compete at $4 to $6 to $8 a shirt, and you're not competing with the same thing because they don't have rent, they don't have employees, they don't have all these things, but then they take half your client base, and they eventually have to rise up to that same level where then they have to start charging more. But the problem is that it's so accessible that it kind of happens all the time. And so you have to really stick to your guns and make sure that you're doing what you're doing, and you're pleasing the customers that you do have. And then, it could be this weird in between. And that's where, if there was another screen printing shop that the market's only so big, so you just don't, plus the cost of t-shirts, so you're taking a product that costs you $1, $2, $3
per unit.
You're making $1 for printing it, usually maybe $1.50. And then, so you're adding that on. Now, let's say the shirt costs you $3. You make $1. You make 100 shirts. You charge someone $400. They think you're making $400.
Yeah.
You made 100.
Yeah.
You messed them up. Now what happens? Now that $100 you make has to go 3. You know what I mean? So it's so
the overhead on screen printing is crazy.
Right.
It's crazy. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. A lot of people don't know about it,
Where
if you can get it right, you can make a shit ton of money. Like if you're fucking like, whatever, like the Steel City or whatever, where they charge however much they charge for t-shirts. And it's like, I know how much you pay to get those shirts printed. But I mean, if you can like make, 5 times the amount of money off of it, then like that's a good model. But for like screen printing, if you're somebody that is a screen printer,
like a wholesale screen printer.
Yeah. It's a fucking nightmare unless you're getting like clients that are getting like hundreds and hundreds of units to really make it worth the effort and time. Cause there's so much effort that just goes into setup.
Right.
Like, like I have a 4-color press at my work and I don't really use it anymore, but like I used to do stuff for some of my friends, and do stuff for my band. I still do stuff for my band.
Got you.
But, it's like people will like hit me up like, hey, can you help me get some shirts printed? We're thinking about getting like 20 shirts. I'm just like, bro, it's not worth my time. Like, I don't want to be a dick, but it's just like, you realize like it's going to take me so much time to fucking like, I got to get your fucking transfer. I got to burn your screen. And like, I'm looking like, now I'm pretty much like wasting a screen on 20 shirts. You're not going to you're not going to do these again. You know what I mean? It's a fucking, but people just don't know. They don't know the process. So, and now there's like, all the stuff, there's like I'm seeing a lot of more like the digital printing stuff with the shirts. And like, I don't know, that stuff's weird. Maybe the technology will advance and it'll start to look a little bit better, but everything that I've seen just looks like cheap. It's weird to me.
Some of the machines look amazing.
I'm sure some of them, I'm sure.
But they're hard to get and they're expensive to run.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine a lot of the stuff you're seeing at stores, like maybe like in Hot Topic, to bring that up. I imagine a lot of those are probably all like some of that stuff's probably this like digital, all automatic.
Here and there, I mean, for high volume, screen printing is still going to win.
Yeah.
And you could do amazing stuff with screen printing, like especially if you get into like a 16, 18 color press, you can really highlight a lot of colors.
Yeah.
But where the direct to garment printers really, like if you do just want one shirt or a dozen shirts or whatever, if you want them quick, they can make you a few shirts very quickly that look good.
Yeah.
So like I have a friend out in LA and he does stuff for like as props and he's busy all the time because he works with the different studios and they just want one shirt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so doing things like that, working with bands that just want 20 tees, you can do that. You can charge them a little more. Maybe you do charge them $8 a piece, but they're getting a full color graphic and they're only getting 20. No one else is going to do that.
Yeah.
So, there is a way to kind of win on those, but it's hard. Like it's still hard, because you are competing with screen printing. I
think no matter what, it's hard. Even like with the record business, what I mean? Like we have, I work for a record label. We have a store, and I don't think people will see a record in our store. We'll say it's $35 for some Beatles record.
Sure,
and people buy that record from us and they think we're making $35, but we're not, what I mean? We paid $28 to get the record, you know what I mean? So we're maybe making $7 off of it. But if you take off, like, okay, like if you like, there's lights and employee shipping, all that stuff. It's like, we're making maybe $4 or $5 off of a $35 transaction. That's way, like a lot of people don't think about that with the record stores, but so it's like, the used records is a different story, but like for new product, you're not making anything.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And employees can kind of look at you the same way. They're like, you made $1,000 today. I'm like, hey, yeah, we spent $950 too. Like,
yeah.
What are you going to do about it? Like we gotta, there's always costs. There's always, you just got to make sure that
you got to keep up the volume. That's the thing is like, anytime we, it's even like playing in a band, like touring, like, like, oh shit, we made $300 tonight.
Right.
We spent $150 getting here.
Right.
So, we got to keep playing shows. And then over time, the pennies will start to add up.
Exactly.
But there's so much expense that goes into all of it.
100%.
So you started doing this pretty early then. Like it seems like pretty much like obviously the majority of your life has been in the print world.
Yeah, I was spray painting on t-shirts when I was 12.
It sounds very California and somehow I don't know how, but it just does.
I get you. Yeah.
like very skate park.
It was. Yeah. We were that was part of it. Yeah.
So like what is your mentality of like California now that you've been on this side of the country for so long? Do you ever go back? Do you miss it?
I do. I love going back because I can go back for like a week at a time.
Yeah.
And stay with family. It doesn't really cost that much. But I wouldn't want to live there again, even if I had the money to. And I have a like, so now it's been 8 years since I've been in Pittsburgh, and my thought process on, you know, how much I love Pittsburgh and how much I love California, it's kind of shifted here and there. So I absolutely love Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I think that it has a lot of really good parts, but there's also a couple bad things about it, like that are noteworthy. You know, people say like the Pennsyltucky kind of thing, where it's a little bit more. I won't say like, I guess more Republican. I guess like
sure.
I don't know exactly. Sorry, not trying to offend anyone.
I don't think anybody should be offended by that.
Where
it is
like
what it is, yeah.
Right. Where California is obviously a lot more Democrat. I mean, neither one is wrong. Both have good parts, but Pittsburgh it kind of swings one side. And then also with like racism, like I never really experienced racism like in Pittsburgh as I did in California. California, white people are like a minority, not a minority, but like you have, I think the stats when I left, it was like 52% Hispanic.
Okay.
And you have a good portion of Black, good portion of Asian, and then white people. And so like, it was never like, it was when I was growing up, I was born in 86. I mean, I remember the riots in LA. I remember like there's definitely racism there, but as a kid growing up, I learned very young to not be racist, where like, I feel like here kids aren't really learning that as much, or maybe they're 10, 15 years behind.
I mean, I was born in 1985.
Yeah.
And I grew up in Wilkinsburg.
Okay.
So, I mean, like I was around, I mean, if I would like go up the street and play, like I was definitely one of a few white kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, like I grew up in a pretty diverse environment. Like, you know, I didn't come from like a majority white suburb or anything like that. So, I mean, definitely with me and my family, it was very much like hey, like, you know, racism isn't cool, but there was definitely, because of like the neighborhood tensions of my family, there was definitely some people in my family that were like, you know, basically, yeah, racism is cool.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like definitely some people in my family. And it's just like, it just boils down to like, you know, tension in, you know, lower income neighborhoods. Like I came from, and people that aren't patient enough to have discussions with other people. So it's just like, oh, you know what, you know, they're ignorant because they're Black, or, you know, fuck you because you're the white neighbor, or fuck you because people just don't take the time to talk to each other. Right. And that's what I really think it is. I don't even think it's so much like intentional racism, is more like unintentional ignorance, and just like, you know, people avoiding a problem versus talking about it. 100%. I grew up around a lot of that.
Mm-hmm. So figuring that out, that's been interesting to navigate, because it definitely wasn't something I expected, because like basically I didn't grow up with that. And then to have that be a part of, I guess, kind of like the white culture here in Pittsburgh, I was definitely taken back. So, I
also think everything's a lot more amplified now because of the internet.
That's true.
So you get a lot of everybody's feelings in general, whether they're positive feelings or negative feelings. Like, you know, so much more about it versus like, you know, when we were growing up, it just didn't exist. You just had like your bubble, but now like we don't have bubbles anymore. You know, we're swimming in like, we're like the world. It feels like we're in like a really crowded pool. Right. And we're just in everybody's stuff is coming off their body. It's floating in the water and it's getting all over us. And like, you know, we try to scrub it off at the end of the night, but you don't. Right. Because like you can't, because like even your showers at home, like your time that you spend at home, the metaphorical, your shower could be literally like a metaphorical, it's still raining on you all the time. Everybody's shit.
So to bring it back to California, so I have an opinion about people that are like first generation, or like people that their parents moved out to California and then they had kids and then they grew up. So that'd be me, versus people that moved there on their own accord. Okay. And then, so California is not very old. Like Pittsburgh, there's been people here for hundreds of years. And a lot of people don't move too far away from home. They still have neighbors that their family grew up with and like family close by. And California is not like that at all. So there's a mentality like, I can be a jerk to you because I'll never see you again. There's so many people. There's 17 million people in LA and Orange County. And so you probably can cut everyone off and never see them again because that's just how it is. There's just so many people. So there's this weird kind of vibe where everyone's very selfish because it took them a lot to get there. And then there's this for the people that are first generation and they're growing up in it, they kind of don't have a choice and they have to like, whether you go to college or like, it's nice that you get to live at home a little bit, but you still have to pay like the same things. I think it's like $80,000. You can get food stamps in Orange County.
Okay.
So like,
wow.
Yeah. Like that's poverty line.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. So like,
I don't know. You end up with, renting an apartment with more people than you should. You end up with, so this situation is just different. There are good people there, but I feel like it's fewer and farther between. And it's just, it's a harder environment to grow up in. I think if you go there, with intentions to like, oh, I'm going to go there and whatever you want to go and make it, you want to go and enjoy it, whatever. If that makes you happy, you're winning. Like that's fine. I'm not knocking California, but when you are that first generation, you grow up in it, you don't appreciate it the same because whether it's 72 and sunny,
yeah, sure.
And you can wait and go outside the next day because it's going to be 72 and sunny the next day too. The beach is going to be there. It might get a little rainy, but like it's definitely not the same. We're here. We have our seasons. As much as people might bitch about the winter, you enjoy having that, like having the seasons, having it. It's refreshing because then you get to enjoy your days outside. I enjoy the snow. I enjoy the rain. So it's very different, and both have their good parts by all means.
Was there anything specifically that brought you to Pittsburgh?
So my mom was born and raised out in Mount Lebanon.
Oh, okay.
So I grew up coming out here all the time.
Okay.
And
gotcha.
So that was my pull to kind of come out here. I'm the youngest of 5. My oldest brother has lived out here for 20 some years. And then my closest brother, who I was business partner with for the screen printing shop, he got married and moved out here. And so I joined along.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So with the business side of things, and now, you are established, you're here, and you're working. What are some of the, at least maybe getting set up here in general? Yeah. Was there anything that you found like surprisingly easy about setting up a business?
I mean, the basic stuff is kind of the same, like as far as the paperwork and whatnot, but the community is definitely different. So like I found it was hard to break in at first because there's circles, there's multiple circles that like my customers are kind of in, and once you get into that circle, then pretty much that whole circle will use you. But to get in, like you just have to keep trying. And there's still people that obviously not everyone uses me, but I think the thing in my industry, especially, is just keep hitting people up. And then if you're happy with your printer, great, fine. But as soon as there's something that makes you unhappy, or maybe they're just busy and they can't complete something for you and we can, that's when we win. So, and it can go back and forth. That could happen to us. Never know. But try always being out there. You just have to keep going.
But in terms of just like maybe like getting like finding a space, getting a building, all that sort of stuff, do you find that to be something that was difficult for you, or was it easy? Because the reason why I'm asking this, because I think there's a lot of people that probably would want to work for themselves and want to have a business. Okay. But a lot of, there's always like, oh, this is going to be hard. And like people always talk about what's the most difficult thing about doing a business. Gotcha. And I'm curious about like, what is easy? Because I think if more people speak about things in a sense of like, so much of this is so easy. It could be a lot more encouraging to people that may want to do anything, not necessarily a print shop, but just any business in general. Yeah.
So I love my life. I'm very happy with the way my life is. But it's because I spent a lot of time thinking about how I want it to go and making moves, incremental moves that I continue to make every day to make what I want my life to be happen. So that can apply to anyone, anywhere. So starting a business, like, I think everyone should go for it at some point, but it's not like you have to jump off day one. You start doing it. Maybe it's a hobby, something you enjoy doing, figure out how to sell it. If you don't sell it well, find someone else to sell it. Maybe you make something cool. There's like places that you can sell your thing at. You don't have to sell it yourself. Then once you get going, that's when your time starts to change from, okay, now I'm working 40 hours a week, doing this thing on the side, 10 to 15 hours a week. You start doing that 25, you start getting a little bit less on the other work, or you get a different job that allows you to work a little bit less.
Or you're just working 90 hours a week too.
Yes. That's how some of us do it. Yeah. Balance is important. Definitely. That's something huge that I've learned.
I would say balance is important, but I think also being willing to compromise some of that balance.
Absolutely.
It's an unnecessary evil, I think, when it comes to this stuff.
Absolutely. I don't have any particular time that I like work. I like to be in the shop as much as I can because I know that while I'm there, I can help get more stuff done. But now we're earlier this year kind of finally happened where I don't have to be there. And so if I'm there too much or like involved too much, I kind of get in the way. So it's awesome.
It's like your kids growing up.
Right. I have a great team right now and I love them all to death. So there's been waves, where you have good people and then you have to, if your team kind of changes, you have to figure out your groove and who's doing what and kind of make it work. But right now, very happy with it. And I make, I try to do what I can to make sure that their lives are going well and they're happy where they're at and they're going to continue to do what they want to do. But I also challenge them and try to make anyone that works for me, what is it they really want to be doing? I don't want them to be, if it's not what makes them happy, I don't want them to be doing that forever. Obviously a paycheck is going to make them happy for a short amount of time. But if there's anything I can do to help in the long-term goals, that's kind of where I want to go.
Communication is really important.
Absolutely.
And that's another thing that if you want to do something like this, you really can't be afraid of talking to people. Mm-hmm. And to the point that you just made, I think it's important for people in the situation if like they're working for you or you're working for somebody else to let your employers know what you do want to do.
Right. Oh,
because like, let's say you have somebody that, is really like, they're really good at like being patient and like, maybe like trimming stuff really well. Yeah. They're good at that. And then you have somebody else that's like, maybe they're not so good at that. Their hand's a little shaky, but they're really good at graphic design.
Right.
But they never speak up. So you have the graphic design person doing the trimming, you know what I mean?
Right.
And they're both kind of like envious of each other.
Right.
But nobody says anything.
Right.
Just, I don't know, talk about it. And then maybe you can shift the people around so everybody's doing what they're best at. And it's just maximizing.
Right. I think we've done a good job of kind of creating that culture. And yeah, I mean, you have to let people kind of do their thing, figure out what it is that they like and fall into it, but yeah, starting a business is definitely not for everyone. I think a lot of people should do it. But you have to realize that there's going to be a lot of failure. There's going to be a lot of effort and there's not a lot of return at the beginning. But you build it and then it grows and it works out. So you just have to keep at it.
I think it's important too to have like a clear vision of what you want to do. And it needs to be simple.
Right.
I think
absolutely. I mean, you should know if you're like, I don't really know if I want to start a business, then you probably don't.
Dude, I say all the time, like if you have to ask yourself if you want to do something, you don't want to do it.
Right. But if you know, like if there's something in you that's like, oh, I can be doing this better, or I know that I would have fun doing this, whatever it is, then it makes sense. You're going to flourish doing that thing if that thing is what drives you. So you're hindering yourself by not letting it work through you, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, look at you. I mean, you're not a superhero. There's nothing crazy going on. You're just a normal motherfucker sitting here next to me. And like, you did it.
Right.
You know, there's nothing, and this isn't like a jab at you, but there's nothing awkwardly special about you.
I 100% agree.
You're just a normal person.
But I did it it's not like I did it like I made it. I did it like I did the thing. I did it every day.
But it's also still like, well, I mean, it's the thing. It's like you did it and you're still working every day. Right. It's not like rolling around in Mercedes-Benz, chilling.
Correct.
Like, checking in on the office from your yacht and shit. Like you're still working. It's still a job. But you're doing like something that you're passionate about and something that you're good at with people that you care about.
I love it.
And like, being able to be a small part of, maybe a scene in Pittsburgh that you care about with like arts, people probably get prints done through you. Lots. Promoters probably get flyers printed through you.
Yep.
Artists get album packaging done through you. This guy. All sorts of things. So with all of that, let's shift this conversation to the Pittsburgh arts and entertainment.
Okay. Love it.
Because I imagine you've probably learned a lot about the local scene just through like printing stuff. Like people bring stuff to you and you're like, what is this? Like what has that been like? That's a really interesting way to learn about the local scene.
So before doing all the printing and everything, I never really went to like DJ sets. Like that wasn't a big thing growing up. Like I'd go to concerts all the time, but I would never go out and like maybe a club once or twice, but it wasn't like a big thing. Now, like all my friends are DJs and I go to DJ sets all the time. And it's like, you go, you have fun, you dance, whatever.
So you need a t-shirt that says all my friends are DJs.
That'd be good. I like that one. And so it's kind of ridiculous, right? Yeah. The scene is everyone wants to work together. And create something. Maybe they have a vision and they want to see it done a certain way. The way that people are curating events is different than I saw out in California. They want to create a vibe. They want to create an opportunity for people to be there and whatever it is that they want them to experience. Like some of the people that we have are very good at creating those experiences. So, there's visual artists that curate their own shows. There's like DJs and we have these amazing venues, some of them that recently opened or reopened, like Thunderbird and Roxy. And there's older venues that have been holding it down. I mean, I think it's the community overall is awesome. And like the fact that I get to work with people in this community every day, like I'm stoked.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like I answered your question quite clearly. So how could I answer it better?
I was just curious, like, you answered it.
Did I? Okay.
Well enough. I was just, what it was like learning about the local scene through your job.
Yeah. I mean, the history.
making those establishing relationships with people in that community, like in the DIY community. There's nothing more DIY than, going to your local print shop and getting stuff printed up. That's like, I feel like that's like a fundamental pillar of, any DIY scene is to have like, a sort of like a, not exclusively like a punk rock print shop, but that's kind of like what you're running. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like
definitely.
You go into Flower City and it's not like there's big fancy stuff all over the place. You know, the room's not much bigger than the room we're in now.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's like, you know, 4 or 5 motherfuckers in there just like, you know, trimming shit up, printing stuff out on printers. And like, it's good stuff, but it's like, it's very like, it's a very DIY operation to begin with. So it's super cool to like see it just because it's very, it just feels like very genuine going in there versus like, you know, going into like a place that looks like, if you were to like, I mean, a default would be like a FedEx, Kinko's or something like that. And it's like, those places look like dentist's offices almost, you know what I mean? Like it's all like, I don't know. There's just something about it's a different vibe.
Right.
And like, you know, your place is just like chaos.
Well, we have 100% of the people that work with me are all artists. So whether
that's a big surprise.
Whether you're answering the phones or cutting down paper, whatever it is, every single person is an artist in one way or another. So I think that makes our print shop a little bit different. And then, yeah, we try to just keep a good vibe in there. Like it is very DIY. And sometimes it's like, is this professional? I don't know. Like we kind of have to ask ourselves. And then we're like, yeah, all right, let's work with this.
Yeah.
And it seems to be working. So we're happy with it.
Not to highlight any sort of negativity.
Sure.
But from just a personal curiosity, you know, being, you know, a business such as yourself, we talked a little bit about, you know, how running a business like you do, you can maybe come across employees or people that work for you. They're maybe like, oh, they don't take this so seriously. Have you ever had to deal with that with clients in terms of like people that are like, well, like maybe they'll like get stuff printed and maybe like not pick it up or like try to like haggle you on pricing or anything like that? Do you have to deal with that?
Here and there. I think that the biggest thing is probably like graphic design, because the people that know like what graphic design is and how much work goes into it, they're all 100% of the time. The people that know, they are very respectful, but people that don't know how to do any graphic design and don't know what it means, they always question it. They're like, why is there this $35 fee? And we're like, because you didn't give us your stuff ready. And we told you before we started it, hey, there's going to be a graphic design charge. And so that's really probably the only time that we get like a disrespect on that. But in general, I'd say, I think we put a lot of information out to start with. So people know a lot about us and what we do. And then, so we kind of weed out that misinformation. I would like to think. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's very professional of you.
Thank you. I've been working on the website for a long time and it's finally at a spot where I really, like it. You could order everything online now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So all the information is there.
That's good to know. You want to plug that real quick?
In my head, flowercityprintmakers.com.
Yeah.
Check it out. Yes.
And where are you located, my friend?
We are in Bloomfield. If you know the area, we're right across the street from Lot 17, Luncheonette, to Sorrows. If you don't know the area, you can plug in 4610 Liberty Avenue in Pittsburgh, 15224, and come check us out. We'd love to have you stop by the shop.
Oh, yeah. So, print shop out of the way.
Yeah.
Moving to Pittsburgh out of the way.
Okay.
Origin story out of the way.
Thank you.
You find this time to do a podcast.
Yeah.
Why did you want to start doing a podcast?
Make time.
Make time.
Yes.
You make time for the podcast.
You make time.
Yeah.
You make time for everything.
That's very true.
Yes.
Why, like, what was your inspiration for wanting to do that? And I'm curious if any of it had to do with like maybe coming across some of the people that you met through working at the print shop.
Absolutely. So I think almost everyone that has been on has worked with me in one way or another. I mean, I have 5,000 customers for the print shop and it's only been 5.5 years. That's a little bit absurd, but there's a huge amount of like contacts that I have that I'm able to, you know, whether it's someone in the restaurant industry or someone in art or whatever, I'm able to kind of pull names out of a hat and see, you know, who wants to work with me on it. The reason I originally started it was because, so I had done, when I was a kid doing the print shop when I was first starting out, we wanted to advertise in a magazine, like a local LA magazine. And they wanted $450 for an ad, like a little ad. And us being punk rock kids, we said, screw you. We'll make our own magazine for $450. So we did. And that, of course, got out of hand. And we were doing that kind of on the side. And that helped us kind of get in. Some places we'd get into shows and stuff with the magazine, and then we'd pass off business cards for the screen printing while we were there, interviewing bands and stuff like that. We Stick to Your Guns is still out, like they're a big band.
Yeah.
We were printing for them when they were kind of in their prime. And that's how we got in there.
Cool.
And so that was kind of the same mentality that I had for this. Like I've interviewed bands before. I'd done some kind of like raw publication type thing. And I'm like, all right, well, that format's kind of changed. 10 years ago, it was a zine. Now it's a podcast. And so it makes everything different. You don't have to publish. You don't have to distribute. You don't have to print. It's just there and it's done. Record it and let people see it. And freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, like this is cool. And this is a good way to kind of cross promote. So something that is always kind of in the back of my head is that if there's any way that I can make my customers bigger or better, then it will in turn eventually help me get bigger and better.
Because they're going to need more prints.
Yes. So I call it selfishly unselfish because like it is, there's something I want to gain from it. But at the same time, if you can gain something from it, it helps everyone out.
That mentality is something that I was talking with somebody recently about that mentality.
Yeah.
And social media platforms like Facebook, where like, I think that it's absurd that they'll like, strangle pennies out of people like me and you to like boost a post.
Right.
Where I feel like there should be a thing. Like if you have a business page on Facebook that has under 10,000 likes, you shouldn't be subjected to the same like throttling that big pages are because those platforms have the ability to bring you up to a level that you could comfortably be giving them $100 a week if they helped you get your business up. But they don't. They'd rather just strangle those pennies out of everybody.
Right. I mean, Facebook and Instagram, so the way they built their algorithm, to the best of my knowledge, is that just like TV, they are doing everything they can to keep your eyeballs there. And so if they notice that there's a single post that people are seeing and signing off of, they will show that post less, right? So that's all they really care about and then things that get immediate attention, reactions, whatever, they put those first.
Oh yeah.
So you'll notice that usually within the first 5 to 10 things that you see on your Facebook, you're going to have some sort of reaction to those. And then it gets less and less as you go down. They kind of mastered it. Like they know what they're doing. But I don't disagree. There's maybe a tiered system, maybe like a sliding scale.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, it's just like, it feels absurd to me to be like, subjected to the same business standards as Coca-Cola.
Right.
Because like, it's two different things. But like, again, what do I know?
Right.
I'm just a dork, I guess. You know what I mean?
Well, but you can figure out other ways to capture attention without paying Facebook for an ad.
Totally. Yeah.
So like, I mean, I've done it before where I'll post something and I'll say, hey, if you share this, I will give you $1 because I'd rather go to you than to a Facebook ad. And I know that if you share it, I'm going to have the same amount. If I do 10 people and give them all $1 on their Cash App for sharing a post that I want them to share, I'll probably get more out of that than I will out of $10 boost in the post.
Sure.
And it's coming from them. Like that's the valuable part is that like, it's not just Facebook saying like, hey, here's a sponsored post. It's like an actual, like you shared it.
Yeah.
And that holds more weight.
Yeah. I don't so a lot of people don't understand like how valuable that is. With that being said, if you're a fan of the podcast, please like, subscribe and share. Yeah. It's so, but yeah, with that idea, I think the best thing that anybody in our position can possibly do is to just try not to rely too much on the social media. I think it's 100%. Important to be on it.
Right.
But like, finding those outside ways.
So, right. So to bring that back, so doing things is what's important. Last year I had the first person. So I've been doing the podcast a little over 2 years now. And I had someone come into the print shop and say, hey, I recognize you from this podcast that I started listening to. I started listening to your podcast and I found out that you have a print shop. And so I came in and he's been getting art prints through me. He's gotten stickers.
Awesome.
And I felt like a celebrity. Like you found me through the podcast and not through the print shop. Like this, how did that happen? So I think that it's another avenue for people to see, get to know you a little better, see who you are, what you're doing. I think that there is some attraction to it. If I just stay at my desk and get work done all day, there's going to be people that appreciate that. But if I can spend some time every so often and talk about that and bring other people to the table and share that. And I think that it's more practical doing. So like if you're doing something and it's practical and the more things that you do that are practical and it being on social media and it's something that's shareable, it's not just me sitting in the room binge watching a show. Like there's no positive to that other than how I want to spend my time. Mm-hmm. So the things that you can get a positive reaction out of that can grow the podcast and can grow the business, whatever. Like, I think it's all circular. So it made sense to do. And it's a good outlet for me. I like to, work with other people and see where it goes. Like,
I think that, maybe you can relate with this.
Yeah.
Me doing the podcast, it's like the only way I get to really meet new people.
Yeah.
Or like sit down and talk and get to like chat with people, because it's one thing where it's like, I'm sure you'll like run into people at the shop and maybe you could talk to them for 5 or 10 minutes, but it's, it's not the same as doing something like this. And for me, it's like, maybe I'll run into somebody at a show, but it's not, there's a lot of distraction and you're in the middle of doing other stuff. You know what I mean?
Correct. The print shop does yield. I think that's probably one of the things I like about it most is it does yield a lot of time and a way to meet people that are just starting out. Like when you're starting a business, probably one of the first things you do is like, okay, let me see how this looks on a business card.
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes the first person that they have told their idea to, or like they're just starting out, maybe not the first person, but they're like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this business or I'm doing a startup. So
there's something so delightfully serious about the first time you get business cards printed for your thing.
Right.
It just feels like, and you see it, you're like, fuck, this is real.
Almost all the time they immediately like go to get a second batch done and it's completely different.
Yeah.
It's fine. You have to see it. But if you put me in a room with someone that is thinking about starting a business or it had just started a business versus going to FedEx, you're going to have a very different experience.
Oh, totally.
Especially if they're interested in listening. So even if it's your first time coming in and you're just getting some business cards, you want to talk shop, you want to talk about business, you want to talk about how you're going to grow. I will probably sit with you and talk, or I will find a time that we can go grab lunch or coffee. And that's something that I really love doing, with people who just kind of pop in and, you make the connections and you see what you can do to work together. It doesn't have to be someone that I've been working with for 10 years. It can be someone literally that like, and I think that's amazing. Like that, so it does offer that experience. I'd say I understand for you and like how the podcast is kind of a way to meet people and get closer. And there is a level of intimacy in that you don't get, it's hard to cut out time for an hour-long conversation.
Yeah. It also taps into your selfishly unselfish sort of thing too, because obviously I'm talking to people from all over the city doing all sorts of things, and a lot of people that are watching the show are watching because they know who the guest is, but they don't know who I am. Right. But now they know who I am. And maybe I might bring up that I play in this band or I do this thing, and then now they know about me. Right. Which it's not the point, but it does help because people do find out about me through the show.
I think it should be the point though. Like, why not? Like,
it's not the main point.
I get it, but you should weave it in there a little bit.
Yeah. I've had a few people tell me before that, I shouldn't forget that like I am, I guess, the host and this is my ship to sail. I'm just like unfortunately modest.
Yeah. So are you still doing Greywalker?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're in Sykes.
Greywalker and Sykes and the New Violence. Yeah. And the podcast and a new project that hasn't been publicly announced yet.
Okay. All right.
And but I've at this point I've like talked about it so much on the podcast, people are probably fucking tired of me like teasing this thing as if it's never gonna come out. No, it will.
Okay.
Eventually.
Can't wait.
We're working on it. Yeah.
Hopefully
we're probably gonna need something printed. So
hopefully I can be a part of it. I love it.
I'm sure that top secret project will be floating your way sooner than later for sure.
Yeah. So you had asked me something about like the print shop and like being able to be involved, like when people come in and they're getting something for their wedding, like I'll tell them like, hey, thanks for letting us be a part of it, like in a small way. Like I don't like, I realize that I'm not like in the wedding, but like I'm a part of it in some way, and they came to us, and that means something. And then people with shows, and I think that just putting that little extra effort in. One of our taglines for our advertising is that it's printed with love, and I think that that's where corporations kind of miss, what the process is of customer service and working with people and producing something.
Sure.
So whether that's a wedding, or it could even be if a kid comes in with like a poster they want for their punk show, and they're just kind of starting out, and like you love it. Like there's something to it. So there's that. And then there's also, someone that gets 500 posters made and it hasn't been released yet. And so we're like, we're not signing non-disclosures, but they're like, hey, don't post anything about this for a couple of days. We haven't quite, told everyone yet. And we're lucky. We work with pretty much every big promoter in the city. So like it's
super cool. Again, mention, you did some stuff for me. If anybody has the newest Sykes and the New Violence album that came with the trading cards. Yeah. Flower City printed the trading cards. And I remember like I went in and like had a meeting with you because it was like, like I want, this sort of stock, how can we do the paper for the wrapper? And you had like, you're able to show me different sorts of things. And this is what it would look like. And this is how much it's going to cost. Like you really talked me through everything and answered the questions in person. And it was awesome because like, I didn't know what the fuck, like, what was it? Vellum? Like, I don't know what the fuck any of this stuff
like
is.
This wax paper?
Yeah. I have no idea, and like you were able to answer the questions and it was super cool just being able to walk into a place and do that.
Thank you. I mean,
because like, I had this absurd idea that I wanted to get trading cards made and I only had to go 10 minutes from my front door to get them made,
Freaking amazing.
So it's awesome.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I really appreciate that. And I think that, if you have something wacky you want to get done.
Yeah. Oh, we love wacky
something simple, hit them up for sure.
Absolutely. Appreciate that.
And if you think you have something thoughtful to say, hit up Josh and be on this podcast.
Please. Yeah.
But get something printed through him first. Then you could be on the podcast.
Either way.
So with all of that being said, we're going to be wrapping up here in a couple minutes. We're about to hit our hour.
Okay.
I don't think I have anything else. I guess, I did have one more question I wanted to ask you. Because I know that, you dabble in some like artistic things.
Yes.
Have you ever done any music? Was that ever a thing of yours that you tried to do?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Don't Google me. Yeah.
What were you doing?
I did a, so I grew up so I was homeschooled, and my youth group, like I was part of one of those like cool youth groups in like junior high and high school where like there was a good handful of kids and there was always like something fun to do. So that was like my high school experience was more like the youth group type thing.
Okay.
And so I grew up playing hand drums, and that was kind of like what I learned was just like playing djembe or conga.
Yeah.
Bongos. And so in 2012, I want to say it was, I tried to do a 365 project where I came out with a song every day.
Oh, yeah.
Mostly all covers.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you find it on YouTube, sorry in advance. It was a lot of fun. I worked with a bunch of other people. I did do a couple of my own songs, and I mean, creating is fun. And I was young, and it was cool.
That's awesome.
I don't know if I'd have time necessarily for like a band in the future. I do play every once in a while at the church I go to. I play. I just have a djembe and play every so often. I enjoy it, but there's not really that much call for someone playing a hand drum right now.
Sure, I get it.
I'm just kind of chilling and enjoying myself.
That's super cool. Yeah, that's cool. That was one thing that I had thought about earlier. I was just curious because I felt I had a vibe from you that I knew there had to be something there, but I wasn't sure what it was. But
there might be some raps somewhere, but don't ask for them.
That's fine. It's fine. It's, I feel like for anybody in our age demographic, we're children of the 90s. There's something wrapped somewhere in us. It's just part of our fucking DNA. Like,
you got to try it.
Yeah, it's impossible, So with all that being said, we're going to be done. And that is all, folks. Thanks so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. One more time, Josh Snider, Thoughtful Discussions Podcast, Flower City Printmakers. Hit him up. He told you where you could find him. There'll be
stop on by.
This probably all that shit's probably tagged in the episode description. Anyways, click on it. Learn about some things. I'll be back again in a few days with another episode. Same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Sykes. Start the beat. 2019. Woo woo. Actually, is it still 2019 when this uploads? This is uploading December 10th. It's still 2019.
Okay. All right.
Woo woo. Thanks for listening. And we are done. Get that slow fade on that. And that's it, dude. Hell yeah, man.
Appreciate you.